I mean, and really just kind of sort of going back to the whole thing of like the whole Love on Rewind thing. Like that's really what it's about with me. Like you think about back then, like the albums, the songs that we love so much had replay value. And a lot of that was because you didn't have streaming. You had the CD. So you had that CD or you had that tape. You ran that tape and you ran that CD in the ground until you could go buy another one.
Right.
Because it was like that's the one you had. That's the one you could afford to get at that time. So it better be good.
Right, it better be good. So who has been the most surprising or inspiring person that you have collaborated with this far and why?
In terms of music, in terms of podcasts,
just in general, all the way
above?
around, all of the above, because you wear many hats, so I know you probably networked with a lot of people. So
yeah. Let's see. Musically, surprising. That's a really good question because I've never really thought like who surprised me the most when I collaborated with them. Because I think for me, whenever I collaborate with somebody, I expect it to be something dope. Because it's like if I'm actually going to commit to working with that person, it's like I've already built somewhat of a synergy with them. Although I will say there is an artist that I work with. I want to say this was going on 10 years ago. So this guy named Rated R Mac. He wanted, like, I would have never expected to, like, I mean, we did a song together before, but it was like me, him, and then another guy, Gladiator, that we did a song together called Baby. But then I was in the studio one time with them and he just asked me to jump on two of his songs. And I was like, okay, so I literally wrote the songs right then and there in the studio. Now, one of the songs I didn't, so one of the songs, I hate that song. It's like my worst verse I ever wrote. Because it was like, it just wasn't me, you know. But the other song that I did with him, that's one of my favorite verses I ever wrote. Yeah. And it showed me also a side of him that it was like, okay, I always kind of knew he had depth to him anyway, but it's just different when you hear it on wax, you know? So that was like one of the songs that like, I really got to hear like the depth that he could speak with as, you know, as a lyricist or whatever. So it's a song called Believe. And like, it just pulled, I think the songs kind of pulled a lot out of each other because we were able to sharpen each other through that song. So like, if I had to say like the most, like really thinking about the most surprising collaboration, it would probably be that. Cause I would have never, I had heard his music before, but I would have never thought that I'd be collaborating with him.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's from a hip hop perspective. Testing. I would probably say when I got with my homie Ramsey Brown, he ended up being the co-host on the Bounce Snack radio show with me. And when I say that was a random kind of sort of happening or whatever, because like I had hosted the show for probably the first year and a half by myself. And, you know, there was certain people that I was interested in possibly having as a co-host, but it never just really panned out. But then one day he just came to me and was like, hey, you know, like, you ever thought about having a co-host? I was like, yeah, I have thought about having a co-host before, but, you know, it just hasn't worked out. He was like, well, what about me? And I was like, okay. And I respected him so much because he just shot his shot.
Right, yeah.
And, you know, it ended up being a thing where, like, by the end of the series, everybody kind of sort of put us as a package deal together because everybody would always ask, when are y'all going to bring back bars, you know? And what I loved about our collaboration, as surprising as it was, it ended up helping the both of us out because it ended up helping me out to be able to work with other people on a platform, whether I'm the creator of it or not. And it ended up being something that helped him in the process because now he has his own media company and he's thriving, you know? So like to be able to see him thriving and to know that like, I was somebody that kind of sort of helped him along the way to understand, you know, how to interview people and how to do different things in the media arena. Like, it just makes me feel good to know that, you know, I was a part of his narrative and he was a part of my narrative as well. So
having your own media company, balancing act, music and media, what are your long-term goals and where do you see the company headed?
So the goals change
Mhm.
over time.
Mhm.
Like when I first started out, it was just really just having an umbrella for all of my music, all of my media ventures that were currently existing. Now it's a matter of like in this ever changing time of like, how do you communicate best with people, or how do you make sure that you're getting content out there to people in a way that they're going to receive it, and in the places that they receive it the most. Because
Mhm.
at one point, I had this idea to have more adult contemporary hip hop stations or hip hop formats, because you don't really have adult contemporary hip hop
Mhm.
like stations like
Right.
that. I mean, you have it like say like in the satellite radio arena like a little bit, but when I think about terrestrial radio, it doesn't exist. It's basically like you think about like here in DC, you have 93.9 WKYS or 95.5 WPGC. Like those are the main two urban contemporary stations. But they play a lot of music that's geared towards 20 somethings and under. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like the
Mhm.
25 and under crowd. Like that's really their main bread and butter, because like when it comes down to it, when you think about hip hop, when you think about a lot of music that's out, that's popular, it's it speaks to the youth. Like it's whatever the youth, wherever they are in society at that point. And so for me, I feel like a lot of times the people that get forgotten are the people that's above 25, or the people that's above 30, the people that's above 40, that like they're still making music. They're still in these arenas and they're really thriving and they're getting better,
Mhm.
as
Mhm.
artists. But a lot of times they're not getting that recognition because they have to compete with the 20s, the 20-year-olds. And I don't think it's fair to really make them have to compete for attention with
Mhm.
20-year-olds, when a lot of times, unfortunately, in music, especially black music, and I hate to say that, but a lot of times in black music, there's a lot of ageism. And so
Mhm. Mhm.
to just to try to answer your question in a short way, like one of the things that I want to be able to do with my company is break a lot of those barriers, and not only just for older artists but even the younger artists, because if you think about a lot of the music that's out there for the 20 somethings, it's a lot of the same music.
Mhm.
And it's like, but yeah, but this 20 something year old is making this type of music and it doesn't sound like, I know, and this is no shade to her because I love Glorilla, but it doesn't sound like Glorilla. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Or it doesn't sound like Sexy Red. Or it doesn't sound like, you know, a Lotto, or, artists like that. And again, no shade to any of those artists, but for me, it's always about balance. It's always about, okay, you can have those artists exist, but then you can have, say, like the Little Simses, or I don't know how to pronounce this girl's name. I think it's LaKaylee 47. I think that's her name.
Mhm.
Or like the Rhapsodies, even though
Right.
Rhapsody's a little
Yeah.
bit older than those artists, but like just that style, or the Tierra Wax,
Mhm.
like those type of artists that don't get enough play on the radio, because it's like, unfortunately, like it's heavy Glorilla, it's heavy Sexy Red, it's
Mhm.
heavy Lotto. You know what I'm saying? It's heavy like a lot of those artists. And it's like, for me, what I would want my company to do is somehow, some way balance all of that out so that you get all of that, but then you get a lot more of the music with a little bit more substance. Or
Mhm.
just even make it a thing where even those types of artists, when they have music with substance, put those songs out there.
Out too.
Let
Yeah.
those be the songs that are like really getting heavier in rotation, because
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of times people, they belittle the intellect, or they
Mhm.
insult the intelligence of the consumer, and they assume that the consumer only wants this type of music. And it's
Right.
like,
Right.
but did you give them the opportunity to choose, or did you
Mhm.
choose it for them?
For them. Yeah.
And so for me, what I would want my company to do is be at the forefront of saying, these are all of your choices. Now, what
I
you
like
choose
that.
from there is up to you. What you lean towards from there is up to you. But we gonna give you as much of everything as possible. Give you as many of the choices as possible, so you can make your own informed decision from there.
I like that. I like that. And speaking again on like the ageism thing, I didn't start doing music till like my late 20s. So I was like,
Mm.
dang. When I was getting like 30, I was like, dang, I'm too old to do this now. I was like, girl, you're only 30 years old. Like, give it a break. Like, come on now. I don't know. I used to think that, like, if I didn't get it by 30, it's just too late. It's too late. But that's not true. I don't feel like that anymore
It's not.
at all.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about you saying that is that if you look at a lot of the artists from back in the day, I think about I want to say what was it Freddie Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Freddie Jackson, his debut album didn't come out until he was pretty much about to be 30.
Wow.
I want to say he was born in 56 if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
mistaken. And his debut album came out in 85. So he's pretty much 28, 29 years old
Mm-hmm.
when his debut album came out. He had about a strong 7-year run until he was darn near 40. You think about the OJs. The OJs, they came out when they was teenagers. They
Mm-hmm.
was making teeny bop music. Then once they got to like, the 70s, that's when they hit their stride. But by the time they got to the 70s, they was in their 30s. Then they hit the 80s and had some more hits. Even in the early 90s, they had some more hits. Like these dudes, like they were the elder statesmen by the time they released a song, like when him and Eddie Levert,
Mm-hmm.
Gerald Levert, when they had Baby Hold On to Me. Like
Right, right,
Eddie
yeah.
was in his 40s by that point.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But like nobody cared. But yeah, like I think a lot of times, like I don't know where that shift happened,
Mm-hmm.
where it became this thing about like, I don't listen to, I don't listen to that old people music, or, or that music is out of style, or that music is out of date, or, this or that, because a person's over a certain age. Whereas like when I was younger, I didn't care. Like
Right,
if it
yeah.
was good music, it was
Good
good
music.
music. Like I was bumping the OJs like they were Levert. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like they were their
Right.
sons. Like their sons were like the
Mm-hmm.
music that I listened to, because it was like that was it's that whole thing. I always think about something my wife says. Like a lot of times when people make music, they make music for people their age and 10 years younger than them. And so,
Mm-hmm.
but like when I came up, it didn't matter. It's like a lot of the artists were much older than me, but because it was good, that's the only thing I cared about. Is it good? Can I listen to it? Can I keep
Yeah.
running this back and forth and, front to back, front to back? Like, can I keep playing it? So I don't know where the shift happened and why it happened, honestly. But my biggest thing when it comes to breaking that whole cycle of ageism is saying, like, look, do you really love music as much as you say you do? If you do, then a person's age doesn't matter. And that
Right.
goes on the other side of it too. It's not just for younger people looking at older music, like it's for older people looking at younger music, like, nah. You know what
That's
I'm saying?
true.
Like it's certain
That's
people
true.
that like they literally will not listen to any other music if it's
Mm-hmm.
not made in the 90s. And I'm like, that
Right.
is goofy.
They say, I don't want to listen to that hip hop, bebop, all that stuff. I don't want to hear that. I don't know what they're saying. And then
Right,
sometimes, like
right.
stuff
Or
my son listened to, I don't know who made it. I just like the beat, so I still listen to it.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Like I literally like it's funny because, my wife, she's a huge Glorilla fan. And what's funny is the first time I heard FNF, I loved FNF. Like, cause I seen the video for it. I was like, I just love the energy of the video. I was like, I love this. This is my type of music right here. You know what I mean? So like when she kept making like dope songs, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of my friends, they'd be like, I don't like Glorilla. I'm like, you tripping. I like Glorilla. You know what I'm saying? Then when I heard her album, I was like, I really like
Mm-hmm.
Glorilla. Now you can't tell
Mm-hmm.
me nothing about that girl. You know what I'm
Dang,
saying?
right.
But my thing is, it's like she's significantly younger. Like, I mean, she's young enough to be my daughter. You know what I'm saying? But it's like if music hits you a certain way, it really doesn't matter how old the person is that made it.
Right.
It's just gonna hit you at the end of the day.
Good music is good music.
Exactly.
I didn't really like FNF, but like as time went on, I started to like her singles. Album is fire. I love it. It has
Yeah.
playback value
Yeah.
in my car, for sure.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
For
Absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely. I can't get enough of Let Her Cook.
Yes. Yes. For real. I love that song so much.
Yeah.
So with band, what is the craziest thing that you have had to juggle in order to make it successful?
Family.
Hmm.
I don't want to say that's the craziest, but that's
Hmm.
been the biggest thing or the biggest challenge to making it successful, because there were a lot of times where I just put too much time into the business, but not enough into my family, because I was so focused on, oh, I got to build the business. I got to build the business. And in the process of trying to build the business, I was neglecting myself. I was neglecting my health. I was neglecting my time with my family. And it came to a point where it was like, okay, either you learn how to navigate this whole thing with your business and your family and prioritize better, or you're going to mess around and lose both. So I was like, for me, that's been the biggest challenge running a business, is managing my time better and making sure that I'm pouring enough into the people that matter, who really are the ones who allow me the time to be able to even invest any time into my business, because they don't have to. They don't have to, allow me the time to spend time in my basement, spend time in my keyboard and my drum machine making beats, or they don't have to allow me the time to be doing podcasts like tonight. You
Right.
know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? To have great conversations with awesome people like you. Like they don't have to grant to be
Right.
gracious enough to allow me that space, but
Mm-hmm.
they do. But that's only because I've learned to be better at saying yes when I need to say yes, and being okay with saying no when I
That
need to
part.
say no. Because that's the thing a lot of times when it comes down to anything, but specifically business, it's like the power of no will save your life.
Facts. Facts. That is so
Yeah.
true. Do you have any
Yeah.
other advice for aspiring podcasters or musicians who are just starting out?
In terms of podcasters, um, I would just say study other people, but don't mimic other people, because what you have to give to the world is special. You think about snowflakes. No snowflake is exactly like the other. Like if you study like the what's the word I'm looking for? If you study the composition of a snowflake, every single one, and it can literally be thousands,
Mm-hmm.
millions of them coming down the sky at one time. Not one of them look alike. And to me, that's a testament to how God made each and every last one of us. So
Amen.
if no snowflake is alike, then no person is alike. So it's a matter of, and I would say the same thing for musicians as well. It's really up to you to, yes, study the craft, study who came before you, admire certain people and pull certain things from what they do that work for what you do, but still figure out what you do best in order to make your brand, whether it's podcasting, whether it's being a musician, to stand out. Because what you have is a one of a kind. It's a one of
Mm-hmm.
one, and you have to treat it as such. So my biggest advice to anybody trying to be an aspiring podcaster or be an aspiring musician is figure out how you are a one of one, and then make that into a lasting legacy or a lasting brand that like far surpasses what anybody else could do, and not trying to compete with anybody else or be better than
Right.
anybody else, but just constantly evolving and being better than yourself the day before, the episode
Mm-hmm.
before, the song before, the album before, just always looking to improve on yourself.
Improve and progress. That's right. That's right. So, where do you see the future of podcasting? Where do you see that heading to?
The future of podcasting, I think that if people learn not to just follow trends all the time, or like just be so hard pressed to have clickbait, I think that the future of podcasting is very bright. I think that if people look to have meaningful conversations, and or even if it's shenanigans, that's cool, but do shenanigans different than everybody else.
Right.
You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like I feel like it can be done. I feel like there's a place for everything in this space. I just My hope in terms of the future for podcasting is that people learn to engage less in being controversial.
Mm.
That's like their automatic go-to. Because I
Hmm.
mean, there's certain things you're not going to avoid controversy.
Right. Yeah.
But like if your whole platform is built off of controversy and like just being anti and just trying to, press people's buttons,
Hmm.
it's like that works. But, how are you remembered in time?
And that seems kind of
So
stressful too.
yeah, exactly. Because I mean, you got to worry about people being in your inbox, threatening you,
Hmm.
and all of these, incendiary comments and whatnot. People are crazy these days.
It sure is.
So my thing is if people are smart, the future of podcasting is like, look, stay dangerous to a certain degree,
Hmm.
but be safe to a certain degree. Like there's a balance between the two. You can be dangerous in terms of like not necessarily just going with the flow with everything, agreeing just to agree, because certain things don't need to be agreed with.
Right.
But at the
Right.
same time, it's like, okay, if you are a family person, it's only so far you can go with what you're trying to say, because it's like you
Hmm.
also got to walk outside.
Right. That part.
You
That
got
part.
to deal with real life people, because some people
Hmm.
crazy. They'll come up, they will literally come off that internet and still be crazy.
They hopping off the
So
porch and they not playing for real. My
right,
God.
for real. So my hope, they just make quality podcasts,
Hmm.
and don't not copy off of each other, or not
Right.
copy what this person is doing and what that person is doing. That just
Hmm.
people learn to just be their own person and do what works best for them.
Right.
And sometimes also understanding that maybe you're not the lead person, maybe you a
Hmm.
support person,
Hmm.
and that's with music too. Maybe you're
Hmm.
not a lead artist. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's okay
Hmm.
not to be a lead artist.
That's right.
You could support another artist. You
Hmm.
can sing background.
That's
I
right.
think of somebody
Hmm.
like most people who know their background singers from way back in the day will know who I'm talking about, but the average person probably doesn't.
Hmm.
But Tawatha AG, she was the lead singer in Mtume,
Hmm.
did a lot of background for Luther Vandross and a
Yeah.
lot of other singers. But I mean, if you heard Juicy Fruits, you know who Tawatha AG is. But Tawatha AG is perfectly fine being a background singer. She made a solo album. I don't think she ever made another one ever again. And she was perfectly
Wow.
fine with it. She's perfectly fine with it. She gets so much more money singing background. She
Mm.
gets so much more money teaching people how to sing.
Hmm.
Like
That's smart.
there's so many different ways to be successful, even in the podcast world.
Right.
Like, and that's another, and that's really the point I'm getting to. Recognize what your strength is in
Right.
the podcasting world. You don't have to be the host. You could
Right.
be the person producing the whole thing and sit behind the camera and just enjoy the fruits of your labor.
And collect your check.
Exactly. And collect your check. That's right.
That's
That's
right.
right. So I would say, in terms of the future of podcasting, that like we have more quality podcasts, but in having more quality podcasts, people understanding that everybody isn't meant to be in front of the camera.
Right. Yes, indeed. And if you could interview anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
That's a really good
Dead
question.
or alive?
Dead or alive? That's tough. For me, it's like so many people that
You would
I'm
want to.
interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly enough, the first person who comes to mind, and he's a voice person, but like he's so good at what he does. Kevin Harlan.
Mm-hmm.
He is he's a play-by-play commentator for he does a lot of NFL games. He does NBA games as well. Like when I say this man could make paint drying seem interesting, if you let him call paint drying, he would make it sound like it's the best thing ever. Like it's the most exciting event ever. Like when I say this man paints, like they often call play-by-play commentators color commentators. When
Mm.
I say this man adds the color to a broadcast, I don't have to watch his TV broadcast. I actually enjoy listening to him on radio more than I enjoy watching his TV
Mm-hmm.
stuff, because if I'm not available to like see it on TV and I hear him call a game, I'm like, I feel like I'm literally right there. And I also feel like TV won't do it justice
Mm-hmm.
if I saw it on TV because he describes it so well. So if I sat down with him, I would just want to say, like, yo, where did you get that knack to be able to call a game the way that you do? Like,
Right.
I've never heard anybody call a game like you do. Like, to me, he is my GOAT
Mm-hmm.
in terms of color commentators. Like, I always wanted to kind of sort of get into that lane,
Mm-hmm.
but when I think about like the Kevin Harlans of the world, I'm like, I would have to study somebody like him in order to even have the bravery or the bravado to even step in that lane. Cause like that guy's the guy. Like I don't know why he was the first person that came to my mind, but like Kevin Harlan, like anybody that's a big sports fan like I am, they know who Kevin Harlan is.
I want to look into him now. I want to see his colorful content and everything. That would probably be me. I want to look him up. I want to see it. I want to see it. So, what's
Yeah,
next for
yeah.
you? Do you have any exciting projects or anything on the horizon?
So I do have a project that's going to be coming up. Not sure when we're going to be dropping it, but so I'm doing a joint project with my homie DJ Shane called Architects. Yeah, but yeah, like that project I'm really looking forward to. Is, like
Mm-hmm.
I said, it's called Architects, and me and DJ Shane have done a lot of things together, a lot of tracks together. I've been featured on a lot of his projects.
Mm.
So for us to be doing an entire project together, I'm really excited to be doing it. We actually recorded our first song for the project last night. And definitely, yeah, definitely excited to like unleash that first single and share it with folks. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that Architects project.
Congratulations on that. I'm excited to hear it. Yes, indeed.
Thank you
So,
so much. Yeah,
where can the
yeah.
people find you if they're looking for you, trying to get in contact with you? Where can they find you?
So people can find me like the main places that I tend to be. I'm on Instagram and Threads at a.j.throwback. That's also my handle for TikTok as well. Here and there on Facebook, I still do Facebook. Facebook is at AJ Throwback. If people want to pretty much tap in with everything I'm doing, from the music to my merchandise, my podcast stuff, they can go to my website, which is bammllc.net. That pretty much connects you to everything from there. Also, a lot of my music is on my Bandcamp page and even stuff that's not even on my website. So my Bandcamp page is ajthrowback.bandcamp.com.
Hey, and we'll have it all listed down below for everybody. If you want to follow, catch up, see what Mr. AJ Throwback has going on, go ahead and you can look down in the comments and we'll have it down below. And thank you so
Absolutely.
much. I appreciate you coming on Simply Shaunte. I definitely do. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Like I said, it's an honor to be on one of my favorite podcasts. What you have going on, my sister, is awesome. You are perfect for this, and I'm so proud of you for doing this.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. All right. We
No
will
doubt.
see you all same time, same place next week. Thank you so much. Bye.